And we're going live. Why did that pop up? I think we're off to a rousing start.
I think my thing said, "You are live."
Yeah, I had a whole new browser pop up. Well, okay, let's try this again. I think we're live, streaming across the entire world. Thank you for joining us for our first ever Meet the Editors Live. I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat, along with Tom McHale, the editor of American Handgunner, and Erick Gelhaus, the editor of AmericanCop.com, and Roy Huntington. We've called him the Gadabout, the man about town. He's technically the special assignments editor. But hail, the gang's all here. We've never done this before. We've got the meeting of the minds together. We're going out live. We've got Ashley, our producer, in the mobile truck out back, and she's handling all the good stuff.
It's true unless you can prove it false, right?
She's fending off the local sheriff's department.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is
a good investment.
Yeah. What we're going to attempt to do is I'm going to try to ride herd on this collection of cats, and we're going to have you send in comments and questions. The only thing we're not going to answer is value of guns, because that's just too subjective without seeing it. But anything else is fair game.
I thought that was because we don't want our spouses to know the real value, isn't that?
Well, there's that too.
Yeah, $1.98. That's how much it is.
$1.98. That's what we all said we paid. So, but before we get started, guys, I've got a breaking news flash.
Whoa.
Our boss has lost it completely. He's wild. He's out of control. He's made a special offer starting right now, just through the weekend, of you can get, and shh, don't tell anybody. It's just for the audience. You can get a 1-year subscription to Guns Magazine and a 1-year subscription to American Handgunner for, get this, $9.95. $9.95. Special offer, limited time offer. And if you're already a subscriber, you can get another year on top of your subscription already for $9.95. So it doesn't stop there either. Guess what? If you leave your email address with producer Ashley, we're going to give you a free subscription. How about that? What do you think, guys? I think Randy's lost it. We're gonna lose money left and right.
Let me make sure I get that. You get both magazines. You get American Handgunner and Guns.
Exactly. Both. Not just mine, the ultimate shooting magazine in the world, but you also get Tom's, which is pretty darn good.
Don't they get 3? They get American Cop too.
You do,
right? And you get AmericanCop.com for absolutely free.
And just remember, if you've only already subscribed for 20 years, make it 21 years. Okay,
there you go.
Just do it. All right.
Okay, we've got questions coming in.
Just say, how much is my Bryco 9mm worth?
I just saw that.
The slide's only cracked in 3 places. $1.98, Jeff. Yeah.
Okay, you funny guys.
Okay, we answered one.
Okay. Hey, we've got an actual question from FPM Realty. One question: I would love to train properly. So what is the best place that's close to gun sight in quality in the area of Western New York, Northwest PA? Well, first of all, I didn't know they had gun training in New York. Right?
That's good news.
Wow.
That hurts.
Yeah.
Sorry, New York. Yeah.
Erick, you actually work at gun sight, and you travel and teach.
An answer.
No, I think he's eminently qualified to answer that question.
The good news is Gun Sight does travel on the road. So there are classes usually in Indiana for sure. There's several good back up. Lebanon County Sheriff's Office range in Indiana hosts gun sight classes regularly. They are also down in Tennessee. And last time I checked, we were doing classes in, I think, Richmond, Virginia. If none of those 3 places work out for you, there are some good traveling trainers that will be around in that area, both north of New York and south of New York. So those would be the best answers I could give you.
Hey, and also check Masayub. He travels all over the place.
He does. Yeah,
he does.
And can I add something too? Get some training anyway.
Yep.
I mean, in other words, check your local range or something, because they've always got some guy, and take the class. And if it's good, then you know. If it's not good, then you know. Okay, that was stupid, But just do it. At least you got to shoot a little bit.
Exactly. You'll always learn something from training, even if it's I'm never going back to this class ever again.
Hello, been there.
Yeah, exactly. So just get training. Okay, guys, I have to tell you, one of our coworkers just said, "Who are you guys?" Thanks. Funny, really.
We are the gun cranks. Yeah.
Okay. Now this is an interesting one. That Douglas Bailey. It's funny. Ashley and I are on the same wavelength here. Hello from Western Oregon. What does a typical work week look like for you all? It seems like a lot to juggle. Okay. I think the boss is probably watching.
Yeah, so there will be a different answer.
We love our job more
We
than
love
anything
our
in
jobs.
the entire world.
Our boss
much
is a
better
slave
than cats.
driver. He
Every
keeps
day.
us working all of the time.
We get up every day, and thank goodness that we have a job like this. So,
Well, we may not after this, but I'll start with this one, and you guys can chime in. One of the funny things is when I got to be editor, of course, everybody said, "Man, you're lucky. This is great." And I said, "Yes, I am. You must go out and shoot and go on trips all the time." No, not at all. I only work half days, 12 hours in front of the computer, often on weekends. I remember when I first got hired, it was me and somebody else, and maybe Tom was here. I don't remember when it was, but I just happened to check some emails at like 9 p.m. on a Saturday night, and everybody started bouncing back and forth. Yeah, I think we need to do this. And it's like, what are we doing here, people? So
on
me,
Sunday, Sunday at 9 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a lot to juggle. We live by deadlines and schedules. But I have to say, in all seriousness and not kissing up, I'm the luckiest little boy in the world. This is the coolest, funnest job. Sometimes it's work, but for the most part, I can't even imagine even getting this job. And now that I've got it, I just sometimes got to pinch myself. So
can I wade in?
Please do.
Because I was a gun crazy kid when I was 15 years old. I wanted to be a gun writer. And so in the very early 80s, when I started writing, I started getting in the industry. And I have to tell you, when you walk up and there's Skeeter Skelton and he wants to chat with you, or there's, I met Elmer Keith in 77 or 78 in San Diego, and Bill Jordan, and I mean, the list goes on. And it's absolutely astounding to be standing there talking with these guys, going to dinner with them, And then when I took over as editor, I looked down the masthead, and it's Mike Venturino and Masad Ayub and Dave Anderson and, Will Dabbs and John, all of them. And they call you every day, and we're friends. And you know what? Can I add one more thing, and then I'll shut up? They are all actually really nice guys. Yeah. Everybody you see in our masthead are people who we actually call friends. Like, yeah. I mean, they're absolutely nice, or we wouldn't have them on the magazines, right, guys?
Yep, absolutely true.
I got a few things to add to what you guys have said. Maybe just to share a little bit of inside baseball. Obviously, there's story planning is a big part of the job, is figuring out what topics everybody wants to hear about, and ideally ones you don't know about that you'll like to hear about. So that's kind of the fun trick of the whole thing. And then, of course, as the cycle goes on, there's lots of editing and packaging and all that. But there is one piece of inside baseball I'd like to share. We get a lot of comments on the pictures in our magazines, and let's pull back the sheets a little bit. Our pictures, the cover and the cover spreads, are done by Rob Jones, who's just an amazing photographer. Boy, we love working with him. He does pictures in the two magazines, and Eric, you got to rope him in, man. Get some photos for American Cop. But all the other pictures are, one, taken by our writers, and two, we edit them. Each and every photo, touch it up, clean it up, make it look spiffy. And as much as I hate to swell the guy's head anymore, I do have to give a shout out to Roy Huntington. I've been a tech geek for a long time, but boy, that guy taught me a lot about making pictures look good. So thanks, Roy.
Well, you're welcome. And you know what? You actually brought up a really important point is that I know a lot of readers think a writer writes an article, he sends it to us, we take it, somehow it goes to the guy who lays it out, and then it goes in the magazine. And I think people don't really understand that. No, actually, we probably commission the article, we tell them what we would like to see, we edit every single article and every word in every article. We make sure the captions are correct or write all the captions. As you say, Tom, we Photoshop every photo and choose the photos. And only then does it go over to the artist. And usually with some idea from us about, hey, we'd like to see this or we'd like to see that, So yeah, it's not a magic thing. And I think even a lot of writers think that's how it is. Oh, I'll just send you the article. You don't have to check it. It's okay.
Yeah, we do.
So, one more point, and this is, Brent, I'm gonna pile on to what you said about this being the most fun job ever. I learn lots with every single issue because the guys we're lucky enough to have writing for these magazines know some stuff. I just worked on an article today, as a matter of fact, from one of our guys, Frank Jardam, about exactly how the toggle action, like on the old Lugers, works. And it was fascinating. Yeah, we're all geeks, but it was fascinating. I emailed him right away. I said, Frank, I learned a lot today. Thank you.
You are exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep, you are exactly right. Okay.
Eric, you got anything to add?
No, I'll defer on this one.
What they said.
Being the new guy, I'll defer.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to embroidery, if that's the right word, on something Roy said, that it's not always been this way in other places that I've worked, but we don't use writers that we don't like and don't respect. And I think that shows in what we put out. We really are buddies here, and I can depend on everybody. And that was another lesson Roy taught me right out of the gate is and Jimmy Buffett said it, the best guitar player in the world is not worth it if he's a pain in the butt on the tour bus. And that holds true for writers. So our folks are literally world-class. And the only thing, we've all talked positive here, the only downside is keeping up with it. If you get behind, oh my goodness, it comes at you fast. I likened it to being in a pitching or a batter cage, and they've got pitching machines set all directions all the time. So sometimes you feel like you just can't keep up. So.
It's true.
So cool stuff. And I want you to know that the Bryco has doubled in value. We're up to $1.98 now.
Cash.
Thank you. I was gonna interrupt with that. I saw it go by. Yeah. So that's good news. It's doubled just in this show. Oh, nice.
Exactly.
Used gun is just like used car. Penny a pound.
Yeah. Hey, here's a good one, guys. What do y'all think about barrel tuners? Varying data makes it hard to say definitively from what I've read. I've not had a lot of experience with that. So anybody got more than that?
I did. If you multi-commando, if you mean the ones that are threaded on or they have a lock and you can slide them up and down your barrels. Yeah. I've played with them and I was certainly able to get the barrel that it was attached to shoot well. It found a sweet spot, but I also found that the instant you change your load, all of that changes, so I think maybe if you're a 1,000-yard shooter and you need to have that, ultimate accuracy. But if you're a Missouri whitetail hunter and your shots are out to a couple 100 yards or stuff, go hunting and enjoy it and don't worry about that. Yeah. But yeah, all that, I think there's a little bit of black juju voodoo, but certainly it's been something that I have seen as a final solution to a problem barrel. And they were able to dial it in. Yeah. I'll tell you what was weird about the one I had, though, was it was dialed in perfectly. And so then the next time I go to shoot it, it's not. Same ammo, same everything. So I'm sure the barrel tuner crowd are going to be upset and they're going to flood our comments here shortly about you're a bunch of idiots. You don't know what you're talking about. But that was my experience.
Yeah.
I've had good luck with them. I have them on all of my carry pistols. So
Whatever.
Yeah, why are we not surprised by that?
Why are we not surprised?
Yeah.
I was going to actually add information here. I would say that I agree with Roy. I think they're the tiny tip of the spear. Ladder testing your loads will get you a lot farther, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
yeah. So, hey, I saw one down here, guys. This may go all night now. What are your opinions on a revolver for concealed carry? We've never heard of such a thing.
You fud. What do you mean revolver?
Revolver.
Hey,
You know?
Anybody here a FUD?
Yeah. Do they
Apparently.
still make revolvers? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you get started, let me just say this. I've told writers and marketing directors from companies, of all the major gun publications, we own revolvers. We just do. You look at our audience numbers and what they like and what they want to see more of. And it's so funny because I think revolvers are starting to creep back, kind of popular. But our friends, and we are friends and colleagues with all the other writers across all the different publications, and 98% of them, when you say revolver, go, and we don't. We speak revolver here. So
Yeah,
I'll tell you one quick story. I was at an event in December, and there was a bunch of young fellows that I've got boots older than most of them, and they were high speed, low drag fellows, and they would tell you all about that. And at dinner, they started talking about these things that have wheels, and there's like 6 holes, and some of those things really shoot good. And I'm like, oh, wow, I've never heard of such a thing. So, okay, we love revolvers here. So, guys, go ahead.
Can I go first?
Sure.
Because I can't help it. I watched Jerry Michulik shoot 5 steel plates from the holster with a revolver in 1.89 seconds. And so anyone who says a revolver isn't effective doesn't practice enough, Yeah. But I will say, as far as which one is the best revolver, I like to equate it to what I say about good wine or any wine. If you only have one bottle of wine, then it's good wine. And so if you have one revolver, then you know what? That's a good revolver. And you need to learn to shoot it, right, Eric? Buy ammo, and then later on you'll know what you want. Then you'll buy another revolver. So do it.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the J frames for pocket carry, for concealed carry. Right. Started out carrying my backup gun at work that way, and did that for the vast majority of my career. And there are plenty of times now where, because of the environment, a J frame in a pocket is hands down the best solution.
I just got this. This is that new Lipsy's collaboration with Smith & Wesson. This is the 32 H&R Magnum, and everything they said about the ultimate J frame, the perfect J frame, all that kind of stuff. Guess what? It really is. Yeah, it really is.
I was down at the media release for those and had a chance to spend a whole day shooting both of them. Phenomenal. That's what a J frame should have been for decades.
That's it. Yep.
I'm actually looking to buy one. Like today, we were talking about that.
Well, you know what? And one more thing is somebody was saying, oh, it only holds 6 shots or it only holds 5 shots. And then, but I heard it was a reader and he waited in and he said, yeah, but you know what? If you get shot, you don't care. I mean, you don't care if it's a 32 or a 380 or a 9mm, or if that he only shot you 2 times. And, so.
Yeah. Tom, did you have something?
I'm only slightly contrarian on this. And I felt like I was going to give a boring answer, but I keep coming back to the 642. I've been toting around a 642 Performance Center with kind of those 2-piece rubber and wood insert grips, fluted cylinder, and it's just a sweet little gun. And I'm going to agree with Eric that it's hard to beat for pocket carry. I mean, just the contours and the curves and the shape doesn't snag on stuff. I mean, it's hard to beat.
Yep. And I will mention, we just did the Guns Magazine podcast a week ago. I talked to Daryl Bulkey, and we were talking about snubbies for carry, and he convinced me that they really are the ultimate travel gun because we all travel a lot. And he pointed out that, aside from just the positives of a snubby, he said, you'll never run afoul of the law hardly any place. Not 10 round, and they're easy to manipulate. Nobody gets shook up. You don't pull some black tactical gun out. Some airports make you open the case, and it's just they're lower drama. And I thought that makes a lot of sense. And the manual of arms is pretty simple. So, but I will say, for those who have never seen the Gun Cranks or one of our podcasts, we're not, unlike some outlets, we're not going to tell you this is the answer.
Yeah.
It's an answer. So, but we all like them. So, and one more thing I was going to say, and I can throw it back to Roy. We've talked before on the podcast about, guys tend to buy, say, like a government model for their wife or girlfriend that wants to learn to shoot. There's nothing wrong with a 4-inch 38. It's not tactical and sexy, but they'll shoot it a hell of a lot better. So,
well, you know what? Can we, there you go. Lou helped a lady friend buy her first firearm. She went to the big box store, sold her a Lady Smith 357 Magnum, the most stupid gun in the world if you load it with 357 Magnum. Yeah. And took her to range, convinced her a 38 Special worked better. Yes. Well done, Lou. And that's, I built a single shot rifle not too long ago in 38 Special, and I've been shooting wad cutters in it. Absolutely one of the funnest things I've ever done in my life. And I think this is that. And it looks like, from what I'm seeing posted here, is most of these guys are pretty savvy about this. So
yeah.
And
when we were talking about our daily job, we didn't even really cover our audience, and we don't call them necessarily audience or readers. We call them friends, because our audience, I try to explain this to new writers, of which we don't use very often, but our people know their stuff inside and out. So don't try to BS them. You may get it past me because I can't know everything, but if you're guessing about something, somebody's going to call you out. And that's what's cool about our audience. And I would stack it against any of the other gun magazines. I know people read a lot of gun magazines, but our hardcore audience are very proficient in shooting and all of this. So,
and they're engaged.
Yeah.
They're engaged. I always respond to writers and make comments, or on YouTube and stuff like that. And I am appalled when I hear our peer editors in the industry. I've heard them brag, and they say, "Oh, well, I never talked to a reader." I've got an intern that answers all the mail. Really? Well, you're an idiot, because they are your customers and they are your clients. And as Brent says, they are your friends.
Yep.
And so if you engage them, it pays dividends. Somebody said over here, Jeff Hutchins said, definitely that a 3-inch over a 2.5-inch on a Smith & Wesson, as it gives you a full length ejector rod. Yeah.
That's not what I was going to say. Further down, he said, I'm not sure I want to meet the lady who likes to shoot a snubby 357.
There's that too. Yeah. But that 3-inch thing, and that's something I went round and around with Smith & Wesson for a long time. I said, bring all your snubbies out in a 3-inch gun, because you can carry it as well as you can carry a 2.5-inch gun, or even a 2-inch gun. And I could never really get them to do that. But I'm with you, a 3-inch gun, now suddenly you can actually eject the whole case. Not that you ever are probably going to do a speed load, in a shooting in the field. But I advocate, what is that, Eric? The New York reload is the fastest reload is when you reach for your other gun.
Carry a second gun.
Yeah.
And one other thing on the J frames that we I don't think we hit on was, with pocket carry, they don't have the sharp edges and the angles that a semi-auto does. So while a little 380 or one of the small single stack 9s may roughly be the same dimensions, it's not coming out of a pocket as easy as a J frame is in a good pocket holster.
Yep.
And I was going to make a point that I've made a lot. What really surprised me when I got into the gun industry, and, I've been blessed, as we all have, to know some of the top competitive shooters, top trainers, the guys that I really respect that are just head and shoulders way above what I'll ever be. And you know what? A lot of them carry either as a primary or secondary J-frame, a lot of them. So that ought to tell you something. They can carry any gun, any custom gun in the world, and most of them are carrying a J-frame that's been slicked up a little bit, but that's what a lot of them carry. So anyway, well, let's move along. What is your opinion of the Browning 1911 380?
I like them. They are so cute.
I knew he was going to say cute.
I thought you were going to
just-
say
like-
adorable, but
yeah.
They're adorable too. Yeah.
Just like baby ducks.
We were just at the NRA show. Brent, I think you were with me.
Yeah.
And they had that beautiful lineup, and there's engraving and pretty colors, and I mean they're not just like Parkerized.
Yeah.
They're actually cool. I don't know how much of a serious pistol that is as far as when I carry one in my pocket all day. It'd probably be all right. You could probably do it.
Yeah.
But just for fun, which is, what do you always say, Brent? Gun
and fun are one letter apart.
There. See? Listen to what he
I
said.
like that. I'm going to steal
Yeah.
that from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I came up with that, believe it or not.
They're royalty free.
Please do.
I think they're cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're cool. So,
Oh,
I haven't shot one. I got to get my hands on one because they do look fun.
well, you know what happened? They suffered from the Llama 380 automatic syndrome when they first came out.
Yeah.
Everyone thought, oh, yeah, right. I had a Llama 380 automatic and it was a piece of garbage, right? Only no, these are actually really nicely made little guns. And I have this like idea someday I'm going to get a basic one and then build it like a retro 1975 two-tone 1911, like Smith & Wesson J-frame sights on it or something. Don't get me going on that, all right? We're done. Move on.
Well, here's one, and I think I know the answer, but I'll throw it out. What's a good place to get a 5.56 barrel for an original Ruger Mini 14 chambered in 223, the skinny barrel version?
I just looked at Brownells, didn't see anything. I saw that question come in, took a look there.
Okay.
And original Ruger Mini 14. Huh. You
They're-
should buy a new one because they shoot a lot better.
We've got a story in the hopper by Alan Garbers talking about that very thing. So
They really do. Can I
Yeah.
tell one teeny tiny real quick story? I once asked Bill Ruger a million years ago. I said, Bill, why don't you buy better barrels for the Mini 14s? Because they shoot like 4.5 inches at 100 yards. And he said, I pay $6 a piece for the barrels.
well,
That was the end of that conversation. I know everyone loves Ruger and I understand and all that kind of stuff, but he was trying to meet a price point.
yeah.
And in actuality, if you just are going to shoot a coyote out at 100 yards in your field, do you need better than that? Probably not,
Yeah.
but there you go. True story.
Cool.
Wow.
Well, the next one I'm going to, it segues into a shameless plug for me. So, podcast guy here, not into YouTube as it locks me in the chair, but enjoying the pods. What's coming up? Okay. We've got some good stuff on the Guns Magazine podcast. And it just so happens that the one that goes live tomorrow features myself and Mr. Erick Gelhaus and Mr. Tom McHale. And the title is a bit provocative. And well, let me tell the story real quick. We have always been against doing the whole clickbait title thing, right? That's kind of dishonest and kind of skeezy. We just say what it is and we talk about it. I have realized after doing some subtle testing, clickbait titles work. Absolutely. And that's important in this day and age. You have to have numbers. So if we've got to be a little bit out there on our titles, that works for me because we've seen significant increases in an already pretty good size audience. So the group voted down my first title for tomorrow, which was, did Taylor Swift shoot John F. Kennedy?
No, and we loved it.
Maybe.
We
Let's
like
be
the
clear
title.
about the voted down.
Yeah.
We're just
Okay.
afraid of Swifties.
Yes. So we went one better was, and this was Tom McHale came up with this. He liked the alliteration. Diddy didn't do it. Anybody could have shot JFK. So what basically we talked about, well, first of all, Diddy, nobody's going to defend him right now. So we figured he's a safe target, but clickbait title aside, it's a good episode. I found myself, I was in Dallas at the NRA show and we were going back to the airport and I suddenly realized, hey, is this? Yeah, it's Daily Plaza where Kennedy was shot. And I always assumed, because I've never really read about the Kennedy assassination, I assumed Daily Plaza was like cordoned off and there's monuments and all. No, it's just like it was. And we were zipping down Elm Street right over where John F. Kennedy was shot. And I'm like, wow. So that really kind of blew my mind. So I started researching it. And the big takeaway for me after physically being there and seeing the distances, just about anybody that's got any basic level of marksmanship could have made that shot. It was between 55 and 88 yards for a vehicle that was just moving about 7 to 11 miles per hour. So that's what I noticed when I was reading up on it. A lot of folks offer opinions that maybe they're not very educated about. So that's why I got Eric and I got Tom. Eric and I are veteran law enforcement officers. We're all long distance shooters. Tom's an expert reloader. So we talked about that. So that will go live tomorrow. Look for, did he do it? Did he shoot JFK? And then next week, I'm talking to Jennifer from Tannerite. We talk about Tannerite. That's fun. And then Roy and I are going to be talking here in another it'll be live in 2 weeks. Don't tell anybody. There may be a powder shortage coming, but don't panic. Okay. It's going to be okay. I know. Well, we debated behind the scenes. Do we want to talk about this or not? Well, people are going to figure it out, and hopefully people will listen, understand what's going on, and we won't cause panic. So, okay. I talked a lot there because I was waxing poetic.
I got to add something very important. I appreciate you shamelessly promoting the Guns Magazine podcast, but I should remind you that Gun Cranks also has a podcast.
Yes.
So I saw a question zoom by a few minutes ago, and the person said that they're a podcast listener. They don't stare at YouTube because they'll be stuck there all day. But don't forget the Gun Cranks podcast, available in all the podcast places.
Yep. So cool. Good stuff. And I got to say a quick comment. And you said you edit all the writers, even Mr. Ayub.
I saw that one.
Especially Mr. Ayub.
Oh,
Moss, we love you.
We love you, Moss.
Yeah.
See, I was going to go the opposite direction. He's very careful about, the stuff he sends to me. Now, he may send you sloppy stuff, but boy,
No, it's not sloppy.
Moss, I don't have to touch anything.
He doesn't send me anything, so
yeah.
I don't edit it.
No, the mark of a good editor is to make it better without imposing your style on it. So we do edit everything that appears in the magazines. And you were going to say, Roy?
Well, when I hired Mike Venturino away from the Guns and Ammo publications a million years ago, and what was really interesting was that after 2 or 3 issues he had his columns in, he told me that he was getting letters from readers saying, "Wow, I really like your new style of writing." And
okay.
And he said, "Well, I haven't changed my style of writing. I've always written like that, but Roy actually lets my voice through, and that's the point. In other words,
very important.
Because as an editor, your job is to sort of guide this herd in the direction that you think you need the magazine to be going in to meet the needs of the advertisers and the needs of the readers and all that kind of stuff. So part of that, though, is that you have this talented, diverse group of people, and where most of our competition makes a mistake. And if you've ever read some of the gun magazines out there, every article sounds exactly like every other article in it. It's the same voice. Did I just say American Rifleman? Sorry, that was an accident. But
wow.
No, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's the elephant in the room. And so what we do is that we just make sure the sentences are correct and the, periods are where they belong. And if there's 2 thes, we make sure that's corrected. Make sure the captions are right and they meet the pictures and stuff. But mostly we let them sound like themselves.
Yep.
And that's why John Taffin sounds like John, and Mike Duke sounds like Duke, and even Masad Ayub sounds like
Masad Ayub.
He does. Yeah.
Yep.
Roy, what's funny about that is we don't get a lot of new writers because I love the ones we've are fortunate to have. But I do have kind of a cheat sheet I've written down over the years that for new people coming on, and we get a lot of instructors from Gunsight, writing new articles for us in the Make Ready column, for example. So I send out this thing with notes about, what our magazine's about and what we expect and all that. And one thing I have in there, Scout's honor, is if you have an Associated Press style guide, take it outside. Now set it on fire.
I know.
And
I know.
And all the professional journalists and writers like, what? Oh my God,
makes them crazy.
Like, no, we'll get the spelling and punctuation right most of the time, thanks to our our proofing and associate editor team. But we let the voice come through, and that's it should be conversational.
Yep.
And I love that.
You're exactly right, because I remember it was like a Duke. It tends to go like, and with what this may be, I feel that, you know what I mean? And so, or up the street, the man is coming down, and I know people would change that and make it AP style guide, which means then everyone would fall asleep and wake up on their desk in a puddle of drool from reading the magazine because they were so bored. And so, as Duke told me, he said, if I said I seen the gun and that's how I loaded it, well, then that's what I meant to say. And I said, you're exactly right. And that's why we let it in. So if you see that, don't blame us. Blame the writer.
I want to hear the voice, the audible voice when I read it.
Yeah.
And I will say one thing that I wanted to add here is it's the tagline at Guns. And that was one of the first things that we did when I got here. Your next gun story starts here. And that applies to all of our properties. We tell stories, and that's not necessarily the case in certain places and platforms anymore. I start getting on my soapbox about this. I collected gun and outdoor magazines like every one of us and every one of you. And it was because the stories you wanted to see or hear what Skeeter Skelton did, or John Jobson, or Grits Grisham, or, any of these guys. And we've lost that to a large extent. And I hope we never lose it here at FMG Publications, because I want to hear the stories. I want to hear it in the voice of the writer. I don't care about keyword optimization, SEO, link stuffing and all that garbage. We're just magazines. We tell gun stories about guns. And I would like to think that that's why we're going to be around. And Guns Magazine will be reaching its 70th anniversary in January. So
we ran into a problem. We're going to have to change questions because Ashley chimed in and said, we'll have to pry her AP style guide out of her cold dead hands after she has emptied all of her guns.
That's funny. Wow. Well, I when I first got hired as editor here, I used to tell the writers, because we got a lot of writers. It was a new editor, right? So what do? Everybody tries to pitch you stories from all the different magazines. And I finally told them, because I was getting these stories and it was like, oh, and it has this polymer and this steel, and it's so many inches and so many pounds. It's like that boring, right? And finally, I started telling them, without the people behind it, it's just a piece of steel and plastic. If it was laying on a table, it would be the most uninteresting thing in the world. But as soon as you tell me about why, and the people who made it, and the quotes from the guys who worked hard, and the engineers, and the salesmen who are trying to sell it, and the people who use it in the field, and the father who buys one for his daughter, it's like, well, now suddenly this is interesting. And so I agree with Brent. It's the story behind it. As a matter of fact, if you look at American Handgunner and Guns Magazine, a lot of times you will read a story about a gun, and there's actually very little about the gun. I mean, there's the basic stuff, but really, it's the story. And we like that. We hope you do.
Yep. Well, guys, here's a universal truth right here from Alec Ross. I've had to buy way more than 2 revolvers and still don't have the right one. What gives? Well, Alec,
buy more.
Join the club. We've all. What's that old meme of, I hope to receive from my gun collection what I paid for it, not what I told my wife I paid for it.
I know, it's true.
$1.98.
$1.98. No, it's like that box of holsters you have. It always cracks me up. People call in, they say, I have a 4-inch 38. What holster should I buy? It's like, I don't know. Until you have a box of holsters, you're not going to know anything.
Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting one. Reference the Henry 22 long rifle garden gun video that Roy did, which has exploded across the internet. Do you really need earmuffs with a 22 rifle in the outdoors? Yeah, but there's more than that. So Roy, it's yours.
Well, it is. It's enough to damage your hearing. If you shoot a centerfire rifle, especially one time hunting, you've just damaged your hearing. And so, as someone who wears hearing aids, because I was an idiot when I was 15 years old, no, I don't shoot any firearm unless you have hearing protection on it. We can get into the science behind it, but just believe us, okay? Because we've been there, we've done it, And I'll tell you something really scary. Even a suppressor with a centerfire cartridge, you should wear hearing protection. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
it's
and
about
Erick,
repeated
everybody,
exposure.
yeah, it's over and over, and it's going to get you. So,
Well,
you know, the
22 is still 150, 160 decibels.
yeah,
And that's the one impulse damage factor is pretty much anything over 130, 140. So yeah.
You guys know the shooter's handshake, don't you?
yeah. Oh yeah. I have to tell a short story. I got my hearing aids, I don't know, 6 years ago. I was at the SHOT Show, and I'm standing there with 3 or 4 or 5 guys, our peers in the industry. We're outside of our booth, and they're all in a circle. And I was saying, yeah, so I got these hearing aids, and gosh, it's great. And I'm not going to get a divorce now. And, I can hear kids, and I can all that kind of stuff. And then, so I stopped talking, and they're all like nodding their head. And then I said something, and they all went, "What?" They all did. And I said, "See?"
Yeah.
God, you're so right.
Well, I think we've talked about this before. I think, Erick, you're of the correct age. Tom, probably. I know Roy and I are. Back in the day when hearing protection was a couple of 38 casings jammed into your ear canal, and that's only the guys that wore it. A lot of guys didn't. And we wonder why none of us can hear a damn thing anymore.
Because you were a sissy if you had ear.
Exactly.
I remember when I was 16, I was shooting a single action Ruger 357 Magnum under a covered shooting place, on a range with no hearing protection.
Yeah.
And I was an idiot. Absolutely, I was an idiot. I never was trained. Nobody ever told me any better. And then you all joke about the fact that on the way home you can't hear anything, and you hear that, beep for the next 3 days. It's like, yeah, well, don't do that, boys and girls.
I told this story on the podcast. We were at Roy and Susie's house last time we were there. My wife and I, we like to go visit, and they're gracious enough to let us. It's like fantasy land for guys. He's got this great shop and a pond and all this cool stuff, and dogs and animals and tractors. And his wife owns a stump grinder. I don't know too many women in the world that own a recreational stump grinder.
Susie bought a stump grinder.
Yeah, but anyway, Roy had just gotten new hearing aids. And he was telling me, you really need to get some. And I'm like, hey, what? So he went and got his old pair and put in brand new clean tips and had me put them on for the day. I forgot the birds and crickets still existed. That was really cool.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, that's how you get their attention. So
yeah.
All right. Well, and do that, bro, because you know what? Go to the big box stores and they do free hearing tests. Most of them do free hearing tests. And just go in and sit down. You put the earmuffs on, they play things, and you'll be amazed that you're not pressing the little button very often. Because you hear it's like, what? No, I didn't hear anything. What? No. So hey, I want to go back to the Ruger barrel real quick.
Okay.
Jeff Hutchins, I think it was, said this, and he's right. You can find, it's like everygunpart.com and also on Gunbroker. You can actually get parts kits, and so they're police trade-in guns. And what they do is that they'll cut the receiver, but it's everything else on the gun. And boy, sometimes the prices are really, really affordable. I buy a lot of that stuff on eBay too. So there you go. Thanks,
Excellent.
Jeff. Yeah.
And we glossed over one here that I want to hit. It says, Lou T says, thank goodness you guys let the real Dr. Dabbs show through. I got to say, all of our writers, again, world-class guys, world-class just human beings, great people. But Dabbs, to me, he is such a unique guy, and he has got such a unique story. And occasionally I'll get letters saying, well, what's this got to do with guns? But that's far outweighed by the letters that say that was really cool. He talked about a World War II veteran or some of that. So I think Will really encapsulates what we're trying to do, which is we talk about guns, but we talk about life too, and how guns relate to life.
Family, dogs. And I will say this, Will, if you're listening, he is the classic Southern gentleman. He really is. He's articulate, he's kind, he's courteous. When we used to go to the SHOT Show, we started having a pizza in our room with writers and clients, and I used to invite Will. And he was just always the delight of the get together. I mean, he was just charming and smart and told stories. And of course, he flew helicopters in the Army. And then, since he didn't have anything else to do, he went on to become a physician. I know. So
he's
cool.
He's something, but all of our guys are too. So, okay, we just did a podcast, Roy and I, here 2 weeks ago, and again, trying to be spicy. The 1911 is dead, and Roy got that comment from somebody, and says, for the benefit of newer shooters, would you please explain grip angle? I'm stunned how many shooters have no idea what that is. So, grip angle. Anybody want to take that?
I don't know.
Oh,
Eric, explain it.
See, do I have a magazine in reach? Yes. Okay. I actually have a magazine in reach.
Hey, there you go.
You could see it over the question that's blocking me. All right. 1911 has, and a lot of other pistols out there have roughly the same grip angle. When you go to the Glock grip angle changed. So what that ends up doing for a shooter is how the pistol presents. With the Glock, the front sight ends up presenting high for most folks. Okay, with a 1911 and anything similar to it, like my beloved MMPs, you tend to get the front sight, the sight's pointing where you want them. It's not a pointing high situation, then having to crank the muzzle down as you go. All right. So Roy's doing the demonstrations. It's the only thing I had within arm's reach was an ETS magazine.
I had a real gun, just so you know. Okay.
And a baboon.
Yeah.
I have the baboon. I have the baboon. I had the bourbon barrel stave flag over my shoulder.
Excellent. Kentucky Holy Water. That's another podcast. But
Go
ahead.
Can I also say this is that just because someone says, "Oh, I hate the Glock angle" or "I hate the 1911 angle" or something like that, actually, it is situationally dependent, because some people really do fit a Glock better. Yeah. And some people do fit a 19. And the really, though, if you know what you're doing, it doesn't matter at all. Because I once saw Rob Lathan walk down a table and shoot like a high point and a revolver and a Luger and a, and shot them all equally well. And so
for me,
it's a natural.
For me, I was going to say, for me, the difference was never the grip angle as much as it was the grip size. So I went from 1911s to MMPs to Glock for a while, back to the MMP. And for me, it was more the grip size than the angle. But I have pretty decent acquaintance who shot at the highest levels of the U.S. Army, not at the AMU, elsewhere. And he carried a Glock at work, but would shoot the double stack 2011s on the weekend. And he talks about having quite a difference on Monday morning, coming back to the regular job and having to switch guns, and that being for him an issue. So I'm sure that Rob, the GOAT, can go from one gun to another, but not everyone can. So it's the individual.
Yeah. It is individual, and there's a way that I like to use to check it. If you're shopping for a new gun at the gun store, pick it up. I'm assuming you're pointing it at something safe, the cabinet or whatever behind the counter. Line up on something, a target on the counter, safe backstop, lower the gun, close your eyes, raise it back to where you think you're on target, and take a look. See where it's pointing. Is it on target? Is it high? Is it low? And that'll tell you a little something about whether the grip angle is natural for you. I prefer a 1911-ish grip angle, because when I do that, I'm dead on. With something like a Glock or a Woodsman or a Luger, with a real raked grip, I'd have to do what Eric said a minute ago and kind of drop the muzzle a little bit. I have to think about it.
Yeah.
Well, Eric said something really important about the grip size, is that I was going to say, if you shoot a 1911, get some thin grips and change them out, and it's going to change everything for you. It really is. I've got a small to medium hand, and it just made such a difference. It was amazing. So when my wife was on a police department, she shot a SIG 226 and she could never qualify. She fought every time trying to qualify. So I gave her my 225, which was a single stack gun, and suddenly she could qualify. So there you go.
And, you know, there's a corollary to this that just got brought up at the NRA show we were at. If you feel like the 1911 is suddenly resurgent, it is. You talk to manufacturers, it's quickly becoming the hot gun of the moment. And if you've been shooting a while, you know that next week it'll be something else. But right now, the 1911, and had an interesting conversation with our friend over at Springfield. And he said that their research indicates that a lot of folks that kind of did that panic buy and I need a gun now, of the percentage of them that have decided, oh, shooting's kind of cool, and I want to keep being involved in this. A lot of them are going, I've heard about this government 45 thing. I want to try it. So that's why it's not your imagination that 1911s are kind of getting hot. They're kind of the belle of the ball right now. So cool.
I agree. Somebody just said, as long as the firearm makes you giggle like a little girl, it's all good.
Yeah.
Bravo. Well, because we have to remember, it's really not a lot of us have to have a gun. I mean, yeah, if you're a cop, yeah, if you're doing things like that, does it make sense to have a gun? Yeah, probably, but in that case, really one would probably be okay. And so, those of us with, shall we say, more than one gun, I think we do it because it makes you giggle, I mean, it's fun. I love single shot rifles. Every time I look at one, every time I buy one, every time I build one, it makes me happy.
Yep.
Fun gun, right? Yep.
Yeah. And maybe we're beating this concept to death, but I don't see that as much in some other places. When we get together and start talking, it's like it's a deadly serious business with certain folks, which guns certainly can be deadly serious, but the whole world of shooting, it revolves around enjoyment. Most of it. I mean, again, if you're talking concealed carry, self-defense, those kind of things, but just the world of guns should be fun, and you should be having fun. And that's where I kind of get on some of my compatriots, maybe especially on YouTube, that, they think if they scowl enough and talk in big words, it'll appear far more serious. And if we're talking about the 22 long rifle as the ultimate man stopper, people will take you more seriously if you're dramatic. And you don't have to do that. Guns are just fun. You don't have to apologize for that. So
I thought he was serious there just for a second. I went,
it's hard to tell.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut. Yeah, Ashley, can you cut him out of the video right now? No, we're kidding. We're not.
Oh,
not it.
Okay. This came from Ashley. The baboon might need explaining. I like the baboon.
So I've been able to hunt Africa twice, Zimbabwe both trips. This is from the first trip, which was back in 1999, hunting plains game down in the West Nicholson area down in southern Zimbabwe. Brought back a skull on that trip and also had this one caped, so it's roughly a shoulder mount. It's in full scream up on a piece of local wood. It just sits over the shoulder. It's kind of my guest for when I'm doing podcasts, anything on Zoom.
I was in Zimbabwe one time, and I have to say, baboons are not cute.
No.
As a matter of fact, can I say this? They're assholes.
Baboons are they're the African version of wild hogs and coyotes.
They are all of the above.
The ranchers, the folks running game ranches and stuff want baboons gone. They destroy crops, they destroy game animals, they destroy farm animals.
Yeah. They attack people and everything. Yep. Anyway, I will say this though, Zimbabwe was an interesting place, and I was scared every minute I was there, because that was in the old days. Okay. And it was like, okay, that was scary. All right.
99 and 02. Loved it. Yeah. Great hunts.
Okay. This goes to Roy, and this is related to what I believe is going to be our cover gun in a couple of months. We're still kind of jockeying things around, but reference your custom Ruger Wrangler video. Roy and I are both huge fans of the Ruger Wrangler. What courses or books would you recommend to learn how to do these improvements? Well, Roy is the guy when it comes to gussing up
Oh.
your Wrangler. So
Gosh.
guys, Roy, hold on. Guys, we can go take a coffee break while Roy.
No, all I have to tell you, man, is that it's basic gunsmithing skills applied. And so, you need to learn how to use a file. You need to learn how to use abrasive paper. You need to learn how to take your guns apart and put them back together. And really, the only way to do that kind of stuff is watch 5,000 YouTube videos and go on eBay and find every old gunsmithing book, every gun digest book about takedown and assembly and disassembly by J.B. Woods. And it's not something you do Friday. It's something that takes years. I'm 69 years old. I've been doing this for 53 or 54 years probably. And so it doesn't come fast, but it can come. And so I will challenge you with this. Find a rusty 22 rifle, somewhere at a gun store or pawn shop or something, buy it, and then learn how to refinish the stock, learn how to take the rust off of it, learn how to use cold blue. And if it's got some parts missing or it needs repaired, learn about Numrich Arms, learn about the gun parts company, learn how to do that, because every time you do that, you're going to be smarter. And then pretty soon customizing a Ruger Wrangler is something you're going to say, I can do that.
Yep.
Hey, Roy, can I add one quick thing to that?
Yeah.
Also, you might want to check out AGI, American Gunsmithing Institute.
Oh, yeah.
They have we work with them, here and there, and they have hundreds and hundreds of video courses. You can get it and do it at your own leisure, with all sorts of, obviously gunsmithing topics. So another good resource.
Well, and our DIY gunsmithing special editions.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then after all that, what you have to do before you start on a real gun is, using a hand file, turn a cube of steel into a perfect sphere. Yeah. And then you're ready.
So
wax on, wax off.
People joked about being able to do that before I took a Larry Vickers build a 1911 class. That would have served me well had I been able to do that.
It's true. Well, learn to use a file. I know what you mean.
Okay, guys, newsflash. This is horrifying. Bill says, Roy, I'm sorry, you look like me.
Oh. Well, how lucky can anybody be, Bill? You look like me? Congratulations.
Hey, Roy, tell them some of the names. You've been called the Wilford Brimley of the gun business.
I'm America's grandpa. About every third comment is from a young guy that says, I wish that you were my grandpa, and I don't mind. I really don't, because I am, But I had a guy the other day, he said, I tuned in for the video, but stayed for the mustache. So it's too funny. Hey, I want to answer something, though. It says here, Henry Garden Gun video, Heathen Rides, is it still a rifle when there's no rifling in the barrel? No, it's a shotgun. So theoretically, I think that's why they call it the Henry Garden Gun. Mm-hmm. They don't say the Henry rifle. And so it makes a huge difference to shoot those shot cartridges through an unrifled barrel. It really does. I recommend it a lot if you have a need for that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, it really does work. Yeah.
Doug Bailey had a question if we could hit that.
Yeah.
So Doug wanted to know if I planned on adding a thumbs up to the stories on American Cop, like Guns and American Handgunner. Well, Douglas, I would if my fellow editors would show me how to set that up.
Actually, I think that's a swell idea. We should do that.
Yes, we should.
Thank you.
It's just one of those things. Just never really thought about it.
Threw you guys right under the bus there, by golly.
Sure did.
Yeah. That's
you
funny.
And baboon.
I had to laugh. Wait, I just saw Jeff Hutchins, Jeff comments regularly on some of our videos. He's a real nice guy. He says, been full-time gunsmithing since the 1900s. Still can't refinish a stock. Yeah, welcome to my world. Just when you
Yeah.
think you have it down, and then you do another one, you go, "Holy crap! What just happened?" Yeah, it's like cold bluing. It's this black art.
Hey guys, we have a rap battle going here. I thought Hickok 45 was everybody's grandpa.
And you know what? They said something today. He said, "Oh, so what are you, Hickok 46?" And I said, "No, I'm Hickok 44."
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe he's copying us. I don't know.
That's funny.
All right. Well, this is pretty fun.
We got time for one more. And this is in regards to my Guns podcast number 224, where I discovered what's called SDR, software defined radio. And it was sitting around right here on the desktop. It's a little dealy you plug into your computer, and with software, you can listen to all kinds of stuff. In my case, I wanted to listen to our local police agency. They took away my $5,000 radio when I retired. And frankly, I don't want to listen to them anymore, except when we got bad weather coming in. I sure do like hearing the city guys, the county, the state saying, "Hey, there's a bad storm," or "I just saw a cow fly by." I like knowing that because it's a lot faster than the weather service. The trouble is I didn't want to spend $400, $500, $600 on a scanner. So I discovered this software defined radio, and I talked about it in Guns Magazine podcast 224. And anyway, he asked, "Brent, what about radio encryption? I know many agencies are going that way. I don't approve of it. The dongle doesn't do it." Well, you are correct if they are encrypted, but I can't speak for everywhere, but encryption generally is only in my experience used for like detectives, especially like high level, counter intel kind of guys. And sometimes SWAT will use them, and especially your bigger agencies. So I looked into that, and the whole point of encryption is so you can't listen, and it works pretty good. So I'm sure the NSA could crack it, but normal Earth people like us really can't. But again, with the dongle, you can listen to about anything. So in weather, I listen to the state highway trucks that are out salting and plowing, because the guys, and especially toward evening when they're getting a little slap happy, they start yakking back and forth, and you hear some interesting conversations along with the road conditions and how things are trending. Because bless our friends in the news media, they're at the tail end of that funnel. I'd rather hear it from the folks that are actually out there on the street seeing what's happening. So anyway, that's podcast 224 and software defined radio. So somebody else had something?
No, I think we're about there. I mean, there's lots more.
Yep.
I miss the old scanners.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
And the little blinky lights.
Especially on graveyards when the first portable phones came out.
Yes. Yeah.
The things you would hear.
Yes.
on the scanner when you drove by apartment complexes.
Yep. And there was always
that's true. I want to give a shout out to John T. Block, because he said, "I'm a witness. Roy has responded to my comments several times." But what I want to say is that it's not just me, because I know all of the guys do. And because I frequently, I'll get a note from Brent saying, "Hey, this guy's saying this about this. What do you think?" Tom will send me something. I mean, we all do that. And I think that really helps to set us apart a little bit. Not to fly our own flag a little bit too much, but as Brent said earlier, I think that a lot of people a lot of editors miss out on friendships because they don't talk to you guys.
Yeah.
Because we all like what we do. So
well, we've gone over our hour, and I love this. Jeff Hutchins says this needs to be a regular thing for 2 hours. Well, if I don't know about that. Somebody also said we need to have a happy hour. Let me tell you this, based in my experience of one aborted broadcast you didn't see from the SHOT Show, you don't want to get these guys going. So yes, I'm talking about you, Eric.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. I know exactly why you're talking about it. I blame you. Your lifelong Biffy liquored me up before he sent me back.
Well, I didn't think you were liquored up when I said, "Here we go live." So, that's been discussed.
I think, gee, we've done this enough today, have we?
Yeah, yeah. Well, this truly was our proof of concept. We wanted to see if people showed up and if they enjoyed it, and I think they did. It's been a hoot for us, but it's even more of a hoot when you got a lot of folks listening and watching and chiming in. And we can think of all the questions in the world, but you guys always come up with even better stuff. So make sure you leave us comments. You can reach me, editor@gunsmagazine.com. You can reach Tom at editor@americanhandgunner.com. And Eric, did you ever get your email set up?
Hold on. It's cops, I think, at it's American Cop at fmgpublications.com.
Okay. We'll get that fixed. We keep talking about it. But before we go, don't forget the big news we announced. And this is only going to run through this weekend. And you guys in the audience, you guys and gals, are the first to know. A special deal, a 1-year subscription to both Guns Magazine and American Handgunner. Plus you get American Cop for free, AmericanCop.com for free for $9.95. And that I forgot to mention, it includes a free digital download of each issue. Yep. So if you're already a subscriber, that adds another year on to your current subscription. And to get that, you need to go to fmgpubs.com/995. So type in fmgpubs.com, type in the /995, and you'll get another year of both titles, plus the bonus AmericanCop.com for only $9.95. So we'd like to see you take advantage of that. And again, we really depend on your comments to help us know how we're doing and to let us know what you want to hear us talk about and discuss. Because the cool thing, boiling it all down, the cool thing about my job is when we get to do stuff like this, hanging around with the guys that have done so much in life, especially Roy Huntington, who has done everything twice. I think it's really cool to hear everybody's telling their stories, and it's really fun to have a platform to do that. So guys, I'll just open the floor. Any final words from you guys?
Thank you for your support, everyone. Truly. It's always a pleasure. I always enjoy interacting with you in the YouTube comments, for instance, and keep it up. So we've got a good thing going here.
Perfect. Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, I started to. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you weren't reading the magazines in print or online, none of us would have a gig. For the gentleman who was asking about the Ruger barrels, I went and checked Numrich. They do stock both the blued and stainless steel barrels. They just don't have any in stock right now. So you might want to keep an eye out on Numrich.
Cool.
Okay. And Tom, some kind of nugget of wisdom.
I'm just sitting here in fear of Ashley. I'm going to have to make nice about that AP Style Guide comment. So, you know what? If everybody would write into us, thank you for being here. But if you would write into us, to Ashley specifically, and say, look, give Tom a break. You know, sometimes he gets a little out of control. Just forgive him. I would appreciate it. I really would.
Yeah, however they do that, right? Yeah, it's like, we love you.
How do you? I don't even know. Yeah,
I don't know. I can't do it. Yeah,
that's why we're journalists. So, all right. Well, hopefully we'll make this a quarterly or something. Or
that was long before the Swifties, Ashley.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, special thanks to Ashley McGee, our producer. She tries to herd the cats in one direction, and she shoots me down on my Taylor Swift references. But we appreciate everything she does, and everybody here at FMG Publications. We do more with less than we used to. And I still think we put out some pretty cool magazines and websites. So thanks to everybody and our boss for letting us do this. So leave comments, drop us an email, and hopefully we'll get to do this again. So on behalf of Roy Huntington, International Man of Mystery, and our special assignments editor, Tom McHale, the editor of American Handgunner, and Erick Gelhaus, the baboon master and the editor of AmericanCop.com. I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. As I always remind you on the end of the podcast, now get out there and get shooting. Thanks, everybody.
Bye now.